Hi and welcome to our YouTube channel for ACL Patterns and More. Today I have a video where I'm going to show you how to create this really great pendant, this snowflake pendant, which I feel is very appropriate for the winter season, which is coming up. So stay tuned and I'm going to show you how to do that step by step. Alright, so to create this pendant right here, this snowflake pendant, which we're going to learn how to do today. To create that, we're going to need 37 fire polish, which I'm using these frosted ones, which I think is really cool, a really cool color. We're also going to need 35 of the 11 nose. I have a lot more than that, but that's basically what we're really only going to use 35 of these beads. And we also need 78 bicones, which I'm using these AB bicones over here. So we're going to use that. We're also going to need a pinch bail, which I have it here in 3 colors, and it's available on our website. I have this brass, which is the one we're going to use today. We have this silver, which I don't know if you can probably not see it that well, and gold. So just so you know that we have those available, but we're actually going to only use the brass today. And other than that, you also are going to need a beading needle, which I'm going to be using a size 10, but whatever size you're comfortable, a size 10 or a size 12 will work. And we're going to be using 8-pound crystal fireline, about a wingspan and a half. Should get you through this entire project. So those are our materials, and now we're going to start doing it. All right. Okay, so to create our snowflake pendant, we're going to start with the working with our fire polish. We're going to work on the inside first, which you actually can't see that much here, but it's right. We're going to be working on the core of it, and then we're going to build around it. So we're going to start with our fire polish first. Let me put this to the side, and we're going to start with our fire polish. To begin, we're going to work with 5 fire polish. So we're going to pick up 5. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to bring it towards the end. We're still going to leave a little bit of a tail. We're going to use this to tie it right now. So to tie it, I'm going to show you how to the knot that I usually work with. And if you purchase any of our patterns, or you get any of our patterns, this is the knot that is used in most of them. So here we go. So I'm not sure what it's called. So we're just going to go over it. We're going to bring this tail over and down under the working thread, and we're going to pull the same way you would tie your shoelaces. It's the best way I can describe it. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to do that twice, and we're going to pull this so that it's right next to the first knot. Okay, once that is there and secure, we're going to take your working tail and your working thread and your tail together. We're going to wrap it around our index finger, and we're going to bring the bead work right through this loop that is formed here. To bring it right through there and pull. Don't worry if it's not close to the beads. We're going to slide it down right now. The best way to do that is we're going to get our flat nose pliers, and we're going to grab one of the ends. It doesn't matter which one, and the other thread, you're going to grab it with your hand and pull. Once you do that, it's going to slide it all the way down here, as you can see. I'm going to cut this close to the knot. So bear with me here. Right there. And don't worry about that little thread there. It's not going to cause much harm. Actually, I'm going to burn it just to make sure. There you go. Okay, so once you do that, we're going to stitch through one of our fire polish. Okay, and now we're going to pick up 4 fire polish. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to stitch through this bead that we're coming out of in the other direction. So we're basically following our thread path. What we want is this loop to form here. This a second circle, so now you're gonna have 2 circles. Now we are going to stitch through the first 3 fire polish in the new ones we just added. So we're gonna follow the thread path, 1 and 2. And here's our third one. Okay, so now you should have 2 of these little circles. So now we're gonna pick up again 4 more fire polish, 4 fire polish, and we're gonna stitch through the same one we're coming out of to form a third loop, or a third circle rather. Once again, we're going to stitch through this and this one too, so the first 2. The idea here is that we're adding them to the side of the center one. So you see how this was the center one in the original circle, we added it to this one. This was the second one in the second circle, so we added the one right next to it, right to the right of it. And on the third one, again, we want to be coming out of this one, the one that's to the right or to the left if you're beading on the other side of the center one. So we're going to do that again. That's 4. And we're going to stitch through this fire polish here. Now, again, you guessed it, we're going to stitch through these 3 so that we're on this side. So there's 2. And our third one. So now we have 4. We're going to pick up 4 more. And we're going to stitch through this one, through this fire polish here, from the previous circle. And now we're going to stitch through this one and this one. So 1, and 2. So now you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Now we're going to close it. We're going to close this circle into a bigger circle, which is going to be the inside of our pendant. We're going to pick up 2 fire polish right now. 1, 2, because we're going to be using this one and this one. That will make our 5. So we're going to stitch through this bead here. Again, this is the center one in our first circle that we created. We already used this one to the left, now we're going to use this one to the right. And we're going to pick up 1 more fire polish. And we're going to stitch through this one here. These are the 2 you just added. Let me separate it so you can see it. These are the 2 you just added. Right here, we're going to stitch through this bead here. That's going to close it. If I could, there you go. And we're going to pull. Once we did that, once we've done with that, now we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the one we just created. I'm going to stitch through these 2 here. We're coming out of this bead and we're going to stitch through these 2. Still following our thread path. Pull tight. And we're going to stitch through this one on the side again. What we're going to do now is we're going to stitch through these 6 beads here, these 6 fire polish here. So we're going to skip in this, or we're going to stitch, I'm sorry. We're coming out of this fire polish right here, we're going to stitch in this direction. Just stitching through all of these to make it a solid foundation. This one, and we have one more. Now we've sewn through all of them. Let's just put that in the one. Now we're going to stitch down through this fire polish on the side. Pull tight. And we're going to stitch through these two fire polish here. So we're coming out of here, of this fire polish, we're going to stitch these through. Now we're going to pick up 3 fire polish, 3, and we're going to stitch through these 2 fire polish that we just stitched through right now. You're going to have something like this. Now we're going to pick up, now we're actually going to start using our 11/0. So I'm sorry to reach like that, but there you go. Okay, so now we're going to start using our seed beads, our size 11 seed beads, and we're going to stitch right through these 2 beads right here. Now we're going to pick up another 2 fire polish. Actually, we picked up 3 before, we're going to pick up 2 now. And we're going to stitch through this fire polish from the previous circle we just created. And we're going to stitch through, we're going to skip the 11/0. So we're going to stitch through this fire polish in this direction. We're going to skip the 11/0 and stitch through these 2 fire polish here. Remember to skip the 11. And pull tight. Once you pull, it's going to bring it. It's going to bring that the previous circle, and the one you just did is going to bring it up, and that's what we need. We're going to pick up another 11, stitch through these 2 fire polish here, pick up 2 more, and again we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch through this fire polish here on the previous circle and the 2 that we've just stitched through. Again, skipping the 11. Once again, we're going to do the same thing all the way around. So pick up an 11, 2 fire polish, stitch through this one here, and these 2, the exact same thing we just did. This time I'm doing it a little bit faster. Another 11. And 2 more. And stitching through this fire polish and the next 2. Skipping the 11. And pick up another 11. Stitch through these 2. What we're going to do now is we're going to stitch up through this fire polish here, which is the first one of that second row we created. After that, I'm going to pick up 1 more fire polish and stitch through this bottom one here, this one on the side. And once you close it, you're going to have a little structure like this. You're going to stitch through these 2 fire polish here. And we're going to add the other 11 that we're missing right here. We're going to stitch up through this fire polish on the side here. And we're going to close all of these the same way we stitched these on this side that we stitched through all of them. We're going to stitch through all of these. So just stitch through these. That's 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5. And we have one more. We need to stitch through this one. And this is your last one. Okay, so that's it for the center. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. I'm going to stop right now and I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to catch up. Rewind if you need to. And when we come back, we're going to start adding our bicones. So get up to this and we're going to start adding our bicones. Okay, so continue. We already have the centerpiece of our snowflake. So to continue, we're going to start adding our bicones. To do that, we're going to pick up one bicone, 111, and another bicone. And we're going to stitch. You should be coming out of this fire polish here or one of the fire polish in the center. We're going to stitch through that fire polish again to create a loop with the bicones. Once we're done, what we just did, add these bicones and the 11, we're going to do that all the way around. So stitch through the next fire polish. Pick up 1, 1, and 1, and stitch through that same fire polish again, and we're going to go ahead and stitch through the second one, through the next one. So we're going to be doing the same thing all the way around. One bicone, one fire polish, and another bicone. By the time you add your 4th and 5th, you should start to feel like it's a little crowded in the center, and that's fine because afterwards we're gonna move these bicones down. And we're going to stitch through the next one, through the next fire polish in that circle. And we're going to do the same thing. This should be your last one. So one bicone, 111, and one bicone. And again, stitch through that same fire polish. Okay, you're going to have something like this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stitch up through the first bicone we added. These are the ones we just added, and this is the first one we added. So we're going to stitch up through that bicone, and we're going to stitch through this 11 here, the one that's right in between the two bicones. Okay, so from here, let me see, we're going to pick up one more bicone, and we're going to stitch. Now we're going to start to stitch through the ones in the back. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so we're going to pick up one bicone, stitch through these two fire polish here, the ones that are right below it. So your bicone should sit right on top of that, and that little mountain that we had with the 2 bicones is going to come down. And that's what we need. We're going to pick up another bicone and we're going to stitch through the 11. And the bicone again. Now we're going to stitch up through this fire polish that's right in between the bicones. So you should be able to see it right there. Pull tight, and we're going to stitch through the next bicone and the 11, if you can do the both at the same time. There you go. Now we're going to pick up another bicone, I'm sorry, and stitch through the 2 fire polish right here. And that noise you're hearing is Oleg drinking a little bit of water. I guess making videos makes him thirsty. So we're going to pick up another bicone, and we're going to stitch again through the 11 that we just stitched through and the bicone we just added. So we're going to continue to do that all the way around. Again, stitch up through this fire polish here in between the 2 bicones, making sure that you don't get a knot. There you go. Make sure it's nice and tight. Stitch up through this bicone and the 11. Alright, we'll do one at a time. Bicone, 11. Pick up a new bicone, stitch through the 2 fire polish. And pick up a second bicone. Stitch through the 11 and bicone. Make sure they're right where they're supposed to be. Stitch again. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So I'm just going to go a little bit faster. Feel free to pause me or stop the video if you'd like, or rewind. Again, bicone and 11, stitch through them. Pick up another bicone. Stitch through these 2 fire polish here. Pick up another bicone. Stitch through the 11 and the bicone. There you go. And here we're coming up to our last one. Again, we're going to stitch through this bicone here and the 11. And one more bicone. One more. Stitch through these 2. Just make sure it's right where you want it, right there. Now we are going to turn this whole beadwork over. So you're coming out of this bicone here. I'll actually turn it this way so you can see it. And we're going to stitch through these 2 bicone, fire polish, I'm sorry. These 2 fire polish on the bottom. So now we're going to start working on the other side of this. Getting a little tangled up here. So now we're going to stitch up through this bicone fire polish. I don't know why I keep calling these bicones. But anyways, you know what I mean. Through this fire polish here and this second, this other fire polish here, which is part of the ring in the center. And again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the 1 bicone, 111, and 1 bicone, and stitch through that fire polish in the center ring. So I'm just going to go through this a little bit quicker because it's the exact same thing we did on the other side. And we're going to do that all the way around. Fourth one. We got 2 more to go. Bicone 11 and bicone, and stitch through that fire polish and stitch through the next one, which is our last one in that circle on the inside. Pick up another bicone 11, bicone, and this is our last one. We're going to stitch down through this bicone here towards the other side. This is the exact same thing we did on the other side. Stitch through these 2 fire polish here. I believe I call this one a bicone again, fire polish, and then these 2 fire polish here. Pick up another bicone and stitch through the 11 that's right on top of here, right in between those 2 bicones. Pick up another bicone and stitch through these 2 fire polish here. Just pull tight, make sure everything's nice and tight in there. Now we're going to stitch through this fire polish that's right in between the 2 little mountains of bicones, let's call them, up through the bicone and the 11, and again continue all the way around. I'm sorry, just one. Going to do this a little bit faster because it's the exact thing we did on the other side. Up through the bicone, fire polish, sorry. I really don't understand why I keep calling them bicones. But anyways, up through this bicone, stitch through the 11, pick up a bicone, and stitch through the fire polish. Stitch through the 11 and the bicone, up through the fire polish, and up through the bicone, and 11. And repeat. Bicone, second bicone, and up through the fire polish, and we've gone to the last one. And we're going to do again the same thing. One bicone, stitch through the 2 fire polish, pick up another bicone, and stitch to make sure that one's right where we need it to be. And stitch through the 11 and the bicone. Now we're going to stitch up through this fire polish the way we've been doing so far. We're going to stitch up through this bicone and through this bicone right here. Now from here we're going to pick up one bicone, 1 11, one bicone, another 11, and another bicone. So you should have on your needle 3 bicones and 2 11s. So now we're going to stitch through this bicone over here. And stitch through this 11. Careful not to pick up the thread underneath. And I'm just going to turn it a little bit, but we're going to need to stitch through this bicone, the 11, this bicone, and we're going to be coming out of that 11. Make sure everything's nice and tight. I'm just going to hold it here to be able to tighten it. Now we're going to be working on the other side. So we're going to flip it over. We're going to pick up one of our bicones, stitch through this bicone here. This is what we just added. 3 bicones and the 2 11s. We're going to be stitching through this bicone here, coming out of this 11. Go. Now we need to go through this 11 right here and the next bicone. And now we're going to pick up another bicone and stitch through this 11, bicone and the 11. And now we're just going to stitch down through this bicone. And the next one. And now we're going to stitch in the other direction. So through this, down through this bicone here. Now we're going to stitch up through this bicone and this one here. And now we got into the same position we were when we added this little picot here with bicones. So we're going to do that all the way around. So how do we do that? Bicone, 11, bicone, 11, and bicone. Stitching through this one, through this bicone over here. Stitch through the 11 and the next bicone. We need to get ourselves all the way around coming out of this 11 here. So I'm just going to follow our thread path and be coming out of this 11. Now that we're here, turn it around, flip it around, and again pick up one bicone. We're connecting it again. So stitch through that bicone, through the 11, stitch through this bicone here, pick up another 11, stitch through, another bicone, I'm sorry, stitch through the 11, bicone 11. Pull, and again stitch through these two bicones here. And 2. Here is where you would pull tightly. And pull in the direction that the hole is in, because remember that bicones can be a little sharp on the edge, on the opening. So if you pull this way a little too tight, you run the risk of snapping your thread. So now we're going to get ourselves again to this side. So we're going to stitch down through this bicone here, up through this one, and up through this one here, and repeat what we just did all the way around. Bicone 11, bicone 11, bicone. Stitch to this bicone, the 11, the bicone, and the next one. Stitch through the 11, the bicone, pull tightly, flip it around, pick up one bicone, stitch through this bicone 11 and the next bicone, pick up another bicone, stitch through the 11, bicone and 11 if you can, all at the same time. Stitch through bicone and bicone. Now we need to get ourselves to this bicone, so we're going to stitch through this bicone, this one, and this one. This is what we just did. And repeat. Flip it around, another bicone, stitch through bicone and 11, stitch through the next bicone, pick up another one, stitch through 11, bicone and 11, stitch through bicone, bicone, through the two bicones, stitch through this bicone here because we need to get to this other bicone over here. So stitch through this one, just the bicone, and this one, and again same thing, bicone 11, bicone 11, and bicone. So it's stitched through here. Stitch through the bicone to the 11, the next two bicones, the 11 and the bicone, and the 11 after that. Flip it over, pick up another bicone, stitch through the bicone, the 11, and the bicone, pick up another bicone, stitch through, 11, bicone 11. Again, we need to come to this side, so we're going to stitch through the bicone, 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 bicone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to pick up, again, this is our last set. Bicone 11, bicone 11, and bicone. Stitch through this bicone and the 11 in between the two of them. Stitch through the next bicone, the next two bicones, 11, bicone 11. So 2 bicones, 11, bicone, and 11. Flip it around, pick up 1 bicone, stitch through this one and the 11, and stitch through the next bicone, and pick up another bicone and stitch through the 11, bicone, and 11. And you are basically done at this point. Now we're going to add the bail. So to do that, we're going to pick up five, actually we're going to stitch through these bicones first and the 11, bicone, bicone, and 11. We want to be coming in through this direction of the bicone because we want it to sort of stand up a little bit. So we're going to pick up 5 11s. So right there, 2, 4, 5. And we're going to stitch through this 11 in this direction. And since we already stitched through these, I'm going to flip it over and stitch through these bicones to get myself to the other side again. So I'm stitching through the bicone, bicone, and 11. I'm going to stitch up through this bicone and this one. I'm actually going to, okay, through the bicone and the 11. And the next 2 11s if we can. Now we're going to skip this middle one here. We're actually going to pull it up a little bit and stitch through these, going down through these 11s here. Just make sure that the thread falls right under that 11 and pull. It's going to create this little triangle here. From here, you just have to secure your thread and trim it. So I'm actually not going to do that right now, but basically just weave yourself through, secure it, and cut. Once we have that, then we're ready to add our bail, which I'm not sure if you can see it right there, this little snap-on bail right there. And this is really simple. Just insert it in here. And here, we're going to close it a little bit with our hands if we can. These are actually pretty soft. And grab our flat nose pliers and just squeeze it a little bit more. Let's actually get this part out of there. There you go. And that's it. You're done with your snowflake pendant. I don't know if I mentioned before, I probably didn't, I probably forgot, but we're gonna have full kits available on the website for this beautiful pendant. In a couple of, well, the bicones will probably stay the same in the color, but just the CBs are going to change the color. But there's going to be full kits for the pendant available on the website, which is aclpatternsandmore.com. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this beautiful pendant, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it for the winter season, which is right around the corner. And don't forget to give this video a little thumbs up. Share it in your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, or wherever you want to share it. You find that anyone can use it, go ahead and share it. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Goodbye.